Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Going the Distance. This is episode 76. Can you believe we've done 76 episodes? I can't, but I want to welcome the new members who are just joining me for the first time, and I want to welcome back the members who have been joining me from the beginning. Your support is greatly appreciated. So before we get started, hit the thumbs up button and like this video. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode of when I post a video. So we got a lot to get into. We've got an extension, a couple NFL extensions to get into. I'm going to give you my tush-push thoughts, which I think you guys already know, but I'll give them to you again. We had an NFL passing, and yeah, let's just get into it. So first we're going to start out with the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy. Now, Brock was in the last year of his contract. And, we talked about him being extended. Well, y'all, he got extended. He got a 5-year, $265 million extension with $181 million in guaranteed money. I think that's great. He's locked in for 5 years. I hope this doesn't change his game. But, I think he's worth this. 5 years, $265. Yeah, I think he's worth it. He's took him to a couple Super Bowls. Now, he should have a couple Super Bowl wins, but we all know why he didn't, because both times he took him to the Super Bowl, he played the Chiefs. Well, we all know how that ended up. But, it is what it is. And, he's got 5 years now to prove himself again. And I see Brock and the Niners going back to the Super Bowl multiple times, and I see them winning the Super Bowl. So congratulations to you, Brock. You deserve it. I'm glad they locked you down. It'd be a shame if the 49ers let you go, Brock. So congratulations. Another extension we need to talk about. The Eagles extended Coach Nick Sirianni to a multi-year extension. Now, how many years hasn't been disclosed yet, but they've locked him down for several more years at least. And that's understandable because he is a Super Bowl winning coach now. So after the Super Bowl, they always try to extend the coach, extend a few of the players. So, I've never been a big Sirianni fan, but, he's doing something right for the Eagles. So, congratulations, Nick. Actually, going back to the 49ers, Fred Warner and the 49ers agreed to a 3-year deal. That's good because now Brock Purdy has a weapon to throw to. And, that piece of that puzzle is, put in place. So, you guys wanted my thoughts on the tush push. Well, there were NFL meetings this week where the tush push came up, and we all know it's not really called that. It's really called the quarterback sneak. So, just like with the Redskins, I say the Commanders, I'm going to say the QB sneak or the tush push. We all know why it's called what it's called, why they're calling it what they're calling it now, because that's what the Eagles did to get across the line for a touchdown, and they do it to get across the line for a first down. Well, back in the day, that was called the quarterback sneak, and that's what I'm going to continue to call it. But they had, going back to my original thought, they had NFL meetings, annual meetings, they always do it in the off season, to do rule changes and bans on some of this stuff. Well, the tush push was up for a ban. Well, the ban was voted down, so it's still in there, which is fine because, like I said, originally it's the quarterback sneak. It's not what they're calling it now. I think it's ridiculous what they call it now, but, to each their own. You can call it that. I'll keep calling it the QB sneak, and, we'll go from there. So moving on, yesterday we had some sad news in the NFL that Indianapolis Colts CEO and chairman Jim Irsay passed away at the age of 65. Now, he's on that team since 97. And come to find out, his dad actually owned the team back when it was the Baltimore. They were back in Baltimore. And we all know how that happened with them leaving Baltimore and moving to Indianapolis. And then his dad got sick and passed away, and Jim took over the day-to-day operations in 97. So he has been with the team for a while, and now he's passed away, so now it looks like his daughter is going to take over the day-to-day operations. So, you've got Daniel Jones and you've got Anthony Richardson as quarterbacks on your roster. So, we'll see how that goes now with his daughter, with Jim Irsay's daughter as the owner now, because that's what happened, I believe, with the Lions. They just continuously, the team stayed in the family. So my thoughts and prayers go out to the Irsay family. I know y'all are going through a tough time, and my thoughts and prayers go out. So moving on, we actually have the Indianapolis 500 this weekend, which means the Coke 600 for NASCAR is this weekend because they run them both in the same day. And there's always one NASCAR driver that tries to run both the Indianapolis 500 and the Coke 600 in one day. Last year, that was Kyle Larson. This year, it's Kyle Larson. So last year, they had some delays in the Coke 600 because it rained. And actually, it rained in Indianapolis, too. And Kyle Larson missed almost all of the Coke 600. I think he only was there for like 45 or 50 laps. And they showed him, coming into the racetrack and, getting in his car, them switching the drivers out, and then him racing. Well, normally that isn't always the case where the driver can pull off both, but we'll see what we can do. But I bring that up with the Indianapolis 500 because something special is going to happen with that pace car. Jimmy Johnson, 7-time NASCAR champ, is going to be driving the race car, and 7-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady is going to be in the passenger seat. Well, there's going to be an Indy car, so it's going to be like front and back, I believe. So, there's going to be greatness. 2 7-time champions in the pace car, and for all you race fans, Indianapolis 500 fans and the Indy racing, y'all remember Jimmy actually raced on the IndyCar circuit for a few years, and then he got his job as part owner of Petty Racing, now Legacy Racing. So he had to stop doing IndyCar, and now he's back with the NASCAR. And he races NASCAR races from time to time. In fact, he'll be racing in the Charlotte race this weekend. I'm pretty sure. I believe it's his 700th start. So that's pretty amazing. So congratulations to you, Jimmy. Congratulations to you, Tom. And I'm going to be watching the Indianapolis 500 just to see you guys. Not to mention all the excitement that's going to go down. So that was all for sporting news. So let's move into some scores. So we're going to start with the NBA playoffs. On Wednesday, we had the Celtics defeat the Knicks 127-102. The Knicks still lead that series 3-2. The Wolves defeated the Warriors 121-110. The Wolves win that series 4-1. So then they move on to play the winner of the Nuggets Thunder series. Well, they waited a few days because the Nuggets defeated the Thunder 119-107 to tie that series at 3. And then the Knicks defeated the Celtics 119-81. The Knicks won that series four games to 2, which is a shame because now that means the defending finals champs Celtics are out of it, which means we get a brand new champion this year. There's not going to be a repeat champ. We're going to get a new champ. There were no games on Saturday. On Sunday, we had the Thunder defeat the Nuggets 125-93 for them to win that series, for the Thunder to win the series 4 games to 3 to move on to play the Wolves in the next round. We didn't have any games on Monday. On Tuesday, we had the Thunder defeat the Wolves 114-88, so the Thunder lead that series 1 game to nothing. In fact, if you ask me right now, I picked the Thunder to make it into the finals. The Pacers defeated the Knicks 138-135 in overtime. Now, this was on Wednesday. The Pacers defeated the Knicks 138-135 in overtime, so the Pacers lead that series 1 game to nothing. They played that game in Madison Square Garden, and I listened to that game on the ESPN radio. That was one heck of a game. Moving on to the NHL playoffs, on Wednesday we had the Panthers defeat the Leafs 6-1 for Florida to lead that series 3 games to 2. The Oilers defeated the Knights 1-0. The Oilers win that series 4 games to 1. So the Oilers move on, I believe, to play the winner of the Hurricanes Capitals game series. So on Thursday, the Canes defeated the Capitals 3-1. So the Hurricanes win that series 4 games to 1 to move on to play the Oilers, I'm pretty sure. The Jets defeated the Stars 4-0, but the Stars still lead that series 3 games to 2. And then on Friday, we had the Leafs defeat the Panthers 2-0 to tie that series at 3. On Saturday, which means the Leafs-Panthers went into a Game 7. On Saturday, we had the Stars defeat the Jets 2-1 in overtime. So Dallas wins that series 4 games to 1, and will play the Oilers in the next round. And boy, did they. On Sunday, we had the Panthers defeat the Leafs 6-1 in their Game 7. So Florida wins that series 4 games to 3. No games on Monday. On Tuesday, we had the Panthers defeat the Hurricanes 5-4. So Florida leads that series 1 game to nothing. Come on, Hurricanes. I'd love it if y'all made it into the Stanley Cup this year. And then on Wednesday, we had the Stars defeat the Oilers 6-3, and the Stars lead that series 1 game to nothing. Now that was a good game because you thought the Oilers had it. You know, the Oilers were looking good. They were clicking on all cylinders. And then the Stars come out and have like a 3-goal third period. So it was like 3-1, and then it was ended up being 5-3, and then with the final seconds left in that game, the Stars scored that sixth goal. So congratulations to you, Dallas. Right now, I would like to see it be the Hurricanes and the Stars in the Stanley Cup. And if that's the case, even though I like both teams, if that were the case and the Hurricanes and the Stars made it into the Stanley Cup, I would take the Hurricanes to win. Being the home team, I'd like to see the Hurricanes win the Stanley Cup. If the Hurricanes don't make it and the Stars make it, I want the Stars to make it. I want the Stars to win. If the Hurricanes make it and the Stars don't, I want the Hurricanes to win either way. because I want the home team to win. But, if the Hurricanes can't do it and the Stars make it in, I want the Stars to make it. If it's the Panthers, Oilers, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We're going to move in to the UFL Week 8 scores. On Friday, we had the Showboats improve to 2-6, defeating the Brahmas, who dropped to 1-7, with a 24-22 win in overtime. On Saturday, we had the Battlehawks improve to 6-2, defeating the Stallions, who dropped to 5-3, with a 29-28 victory. Close game. The Panthers improved to 6-2, defeating the Roughnecks, who dropped to 3-5, with a 30-18 victory. And then on Sunday, we had the Defenders improve to 6-2, defeating the Renegades, who dropped to 3-5, with a 33-30 victory. Now, the Renegades are starting to look like they did last year. They came out strong, but now here they are with a losing record. I still think the Stallions are going to make it, but, who do they play? Do they play the Battlehawks, Panthers, or Defenders in that? Because I see the Showboats, the Brahmas, the Roughnecks, and the Renegades. I see them, being eliminated. And if they do, I know one of those teams have to make it into the playoffs, but whichever team makes it out of those, I don't see them making it far. And I see the Stallions, the Battlehawks, or the Defenders beating them. So, it is what it's going to be. But, we'll see. There's still 1 week left. There's still 2 weeks left, and then we have the semifinals. And then we move into the finals the following week. So we'll see how that goes. Moving on to some predictions in the UFL for week 9. Can you believe we've had 9 weeks of the UFL? Man, I can't. On Friday night at 8 o'clock on Fox, we have the 6-2 Battlehawks going up against the 1-7 Brahmas. I have the Battlehawks winning that game. On Saturday, at noon on ABC, we have the 3-5 Renegades at the 2-6 Showboats. I'm picking the Renegades in that game. At 3 o'clock on ABC, we have the 6-2 Panthers going to the 5-3 Stallions. I'm picking the Stallions in that game. And then on Sunday, at 4 o'clock on Fox, we have the 6-2 Defenders at the 3-5 Roughnecks. I'm picking the Defenders in that game, obviously. And then we'll see how well those games end up and how we stack up, how the predictions stack up. In fact, it would be great if you guys would comment y'all's thoughts on the UFL and put predictions in there, so we can each talk about how we did. So moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about golf because I'm going to start covering golf more, as I said. Scotty Scheffler won the PGA Championship in Charlotte at 11 under. He had a 5-stroke lead, and he continued that lead. And he is also the number 1 golfer in the world. So for him to win that championship, I think is good for him. He has, shown why he's the number 1 golfer in the world. And, he came out swinging that first day on Thursday, because they do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He came out strong on Thursday and continued his dominance all the way to Sunday. And he had a little bit of a scare there on Sunday because the second place person tied him, but then he ended up surging ahead. But then Scotty surged ahead and won the PGA Championship. So congratulations to you, Scotty. Moving on, that was all for sporting news and scores. We're going to move into some music news. And we're going to cover, I'm going to talk a little bit about Soundgarden, who also happens to be the artist we're listening to this week. And you might ask, why did you pick Soundgarden? Well, Soundgarden's going to make it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year. It's been, we also celebrated the 8th year of Chris Cornell's death. So, since he died back in 2017, they've had talks of when will Soundgarden make it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Well, they're going to make it this year. So congratulations, Soundgarden. You've actually been one of my favorite grunge bands of the 90s. But we're going to get into that right now with the who we're listening to segment. And we're listening to Soundgarden, as I said. They're a grunge style from Seattle, Washington. They actually formed in 84, disbanded in 97, got back together in 2010, and they were together until 2017 when Chris Cornell passed away. And then they had they call it a one-off reunion, which is where they come together for one time only in 2019 to perform. And then I guess they'll come back together this year to accept their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame award. I actually found out about them in the late 90s, early 2000s. I can't actually remember the actual year I found out about them. They've had 6 studio albums, 24 singles, 23 music videos, 6 compilation albums, 2 live albums. Their new album is King Animal from 2012. And that was the last album with Chris Cornell because of unfortunate events. My favorite album of theirs is actually Live from the Artist's Den. It's a 2-disc live album, and it's like a live greatest hits. And Super Unknown. Super Unknown is actually one of their earlier albums, and that has Black Hole Sun and all that. Black Hole Sun, which is actually one of their biggest hits. I believe Spoon Man is on that album. And, that was just a good album to break out with. That was actually their 4th album. Their debut album was Ultra Mega OK in 1988. But they didn't really come on the scene and hit it big until, in my opinion, until 1991. And that was when the grunge movement really started, was in 91. And I believe the name of that album, if I'm looking at it right, is Bad Motorfinger. Go figure. They had a lot of weird titles to albums back in the day. So, Super Unknown, like I said. Kind of weird, but they were a good band. And Chris Cornell had a voice that was unique. He could hit notes nobody else could really hit. So, what do I want you guys to listen to this week? I want you guys to listen to the Live from the Artist's Den album. Like I said, it was a 2-disc album, and I want you to listen to the Super Unknown album. If you can do all that in a week, that'd be good. Let me know what you guys think of those albums. Now, I do know that Super Unknown has a super deluxe album that's got like 30-some songs on it. Y'all don't have to listen to all that because that's going to take you probably more than a week to listen to, unless you listen to it like 24 hours all the way through. So I wouldn't recommend the super deluxe. Just listen to the regular one. But Live from the Artist's Den, definitely listen to. because that's a good album. And you can hear Chris's vocal range and all that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show this week. As always, thank you guys for joining me. Hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. And I want to thank you guys for joining me, and we will be back next week with some more music news, sporting news, and scores. Hope you guys have a good rest of the week, and God bless.